And there are teams like Mercedes who are in a little bit of trouble, you know? I mean, it's not all plain sailing for the world champions. All right, Ferrari might consider that they're fastest at the moment, but they're also figuring out what they're going to do, how they're going to stop bouncing and porpoising down around the track. But so it's really, really interesting to see how they're all now settling in for a long night of debriefs and discussions and trying to, all of these teams trying to make their cars go faster. So we're going to keep a respectful distance, not too much of the old zoomy zoom zoom lens, but you'll get the picture of how detailed these teams are in looking into all their data and the debriefs. There you can see the white hat of Nicholas Latifi. Yes, without me pointing that out, without having to get to zoomy zoom zoom, John. But yeah, it's you can see them all lined up as we walk past and take a quick peek walking past. About how many there are. I mean, look at Williams. There's Alex Albon in the white t-shirt there. Look how many engineers there are poring over these computers in every team. You know, 30 plus engineers in there going over all the data. Right. Williams. I'm gonna have to crouch by this light to see what I've written. Alex Albon. Thank you. Alex Albon, 47 laps. Go on, go and get the engineers. 47 laps. P8. With a 21.5, Nicholas Latifi, P10 with a 21.8, pit by Nikita Mazepin at the end, 61 laps. Alex Albon in the morning, a couple of little issues with a pump, but he carried on. Nicholas Latifi took over at lunchtime, got okay mileage. They put some more Flowbiz paint on the car just to find some other stuff, but it was okay. And they had a bit of an early finish with Nicholas Latifi due to a rear suspension issue. Alfa Romeo Sauber, we've already done them with Valtteri Bottas. Yes, I've already told you about that. Right, Aston Martin is next. Of course they are. That's next. Norbert Vettel was here today. You heard from Sebastian just before the break. And nice to see his dad, old Nobby Vettel, turning up as he always does in the pre-season Barcelona tests. But he was there to see Lance Stroll in the morning, 55 laps for the Canadian for P11, 121.9, and 7 in the afternoon, a P6, a 20.7 with 72 laps. So that's not so bad. So you heard what Seb said earlier. Nothing really much more to add for Aston Martin. You can see the guys working here, John. I don't know what you can see through that window, but many more engineers working late into the night to try and find some speed. They're there or thereabouts. Nothing more in the midfield. I think the car is solid. Hopefully we'll talk to Tom McCulloch, their top sort of engineering guy tomorrow, and get some more insight on how they are doing. But yeah, I think they've got issues like everybody else, as Seb seems to allude to. Right, Pierre Gasly, the Gasman, the Gasmobile, was P2 today on a 119.1, 146 laps. So he is the king of lappery today. And it was Gasly all day, not surprising, because he did 146 laps, to almost 3 race distances. Good pace, well, 2.5 race distances. Good pace, did some pit stop practice at the moment, at the end. And yeah, all is looking quite good with this AlphaTauri. Not able to say whether I mean, they seem to be where they were last year, which is, you know, being able to be top 5, top 6 in qualifying potentially, and not falling back from there, which is great from them. Hopefully they can deliver. Yuki Tsunoda was quite funny in the press conference talking about Michael Massey. We'll get on to him a little bit later when we talk about Max Verstappen. Said, well, I got a lot of penalty points from him. But despite that, I think he was on a human level sad to see that he has been moved aside from his position as race director. But Max Verstappen's certainly stronger on that. I'll get to that in a second. Alpine, you can see them all in their little tree house here, and an okay day, I suppose. Lots of laps. It was Esteban Ocon all day, and they didn't use DRS. They still haven't used DRS. And the team say as a precaution. Hello, what's all that about? As they've got a little issue with their DRS actuator with these new rear wings. We'll have to follow that throughout the weekend and in Bahrain. But they did do lots of mileage. The power unit is good, and they had lost a bit of time with the sensor issue. But Ocon was P14, so not quick, but not chasing lap times with DRS, as I said. A 122.1 and 124 laps for the Frenchman in the soon-to-be renamed Pink Panthers. I wonder what French is for Pink Panthers. Please tell me at #AskCrofty. But Alonso did say we all lost performance with the new biofuel, with the E10 biofuel. Fernando said earlier, so it's 10% biofuel, and that's had a big effect on detonation in the combustion chambers. It's much less than before, and the engine manufacturers have to figure out exactly what that means. You can just get the slightest peek into the McLaren briefing room, because they tend to be a little bit more secretive, as the McLaren way, into their briefing room, where they have done 126 laps for Daniel Ricciardo. P3, 20.2, not too zoomy in McLaren. They get a bit touchy about that, JD. Yep, let's move on. P3, Ricciardo, 20.2, 126 laps. Ricciardo all day they have this new sort of explosive startup. So whenever they start the engine, it sort of starts popping, and sort of unburnt fuel seems to be getting into their exhaust pipe and exploding as they leave the garage, and it scares everybody. They did some setup work. They did more laps than yesterday, but it's not looking too bad at all. They're not looking at lap times, they say. Did some new Flovis paint tests around the rear wing, which look fine. But this is basically, the McLaren is a good car. Maybe it's not on the pace of the Ferrari. Yes, you heard me right, the Ferrari, which is the pace setter in Barcelona so far, but it's certainly a good car. Which leads me on to the Ferrari. Sainz, 71 laps and P5 for a 20.5, but Charles Leclerc, P1, fastest, 78 laps on a 19.6. Another good day for them. They say it's nothing, you know, look, it's all fine, it's just testing. And everyone else says Ferrari are fastest. So with or without the Babybel scoop side pod, there are things on that Ferrari that seem to be working. Yes, we don't know fuel levels, all of that. The only issue they have is bouncing down the straight, or porpoising, whatever you want to call it, slamming the car against the deck, or bouncing on the suspension. Mattia Binotto says, yes, the bouncing is more than we expected. We need to sort it out, because it's not great, not least for bits falling off the car. Leclerc also said there was a bit of bouncing, as did Sainz. You can see it all online. Check the Sky Sports F1 Twitter page for all of that. Can you just about see into the briefing room there somewhere? Sort of. Yeah, that's something that is with these cars as they run very low to the ground and try and utilise that ground effect. Which leaves us with Red Bull and Mercedes. And where is Red Bull's pace? I think Max Verstappen was kind of asking that when we spoke to him a little bit earlier. P7 for Sergio Perez today, 21.4, 77 laps. More stuff on the car that we're noticing. Very nice beam wing they've got, I was talking about earlier. Sergio Perez stopped with a gearbox problem in the afternoon. Well, what was not a perfect day for Red Bull. And do they actually have pace in their car? We haven't seen it yet, so maybe we'll see it on the last day or in Bahrain. Max Verstappen, as I mentioned, was absolutely scathing about what the hint seems to be that he thinks that Mercedes, you know, agitated and got Michael Massey removed as race director. We don't know. We have no idea whether that's true, because the FIA haven't told why they've moved Michael Massey aside as race director. But Max, very vocal, says Michael Massey has been thrown under the bus. Whoever sacked him, Verstappen said, for me, it's unacceptable. So, you know, if you're cynical, you'd say, well, he would say that, wouldn't he? But that's what Max Verstappen had to say about Michael Massey, and I've broken my don't mention Michael Massey anymore. What's it called? What did we say it was? The amnesty, didn't we, JD? We said we weren't going to mention him again. Let's finish off with Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton, 40 laps, P16, 22.5. George Russell, P4, a 20.5, 64 laps. Not plain sailing today for them. Bit of a different, difficult day for Lewis Hamilton. There's a lot of bouncing around, a lot of bottoming for them as well, a lot of oscillations. It was better in the afternoon for George Russell. He was working through setups and looking at promising pathways on the car. But at the moment, Mercedes are slower than Ferrari. Yes, you heard it right. They are slower than Ferrari. And Mercedes, if the Grand Prix was going to be tomorrow, would lose to the Ferrari. But the Grand Prix isn't tomorrow. We've got Bahrain testing, and then we've got Bahrain. So then we'll see clearly what is going on. Right, there is them hard at work at the World Constructors' Championship teams. I hope this has given you an idea about the dedication of all of these people, the dedication of all of these teams, what they're going through to work through these new cars. And so all amongst all of these teams, all down there, they've all got this huge job to do and try and get these cars sorted. Right, that is our time for today. I will say thank you very much for watching, and if I reach in the backyard, don't be late. Join us at 8 tomorrow for the final day of the Barcelona test. And if I just drop the mask for a second and reach in my pocket, I find that no food has been wasted in the making of today's program. So cheers. Here's to Ferrari and their amazing scoop side pods. It's all down to the Babybel, you know. Bye-bye.